What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the channel. My name is Owie, and today I got a movie review for you guys, and that movie is Society of the Snow, directed by Juan Antonio Bayona. And Society of the Snow, we follow the events of the 1972 Uruguayan plane crash in the middle of the Andes Mountains, where we follow a handful of survivors as they fight through the harsh climate and the hunger they have to endure, which results to cannibalism. And we also follow some inspirational tales of heroism as these characters rely on each other to give them hope. And what a movie! What an experience, and what a journey. And it's all to the great direction of Juan Antonio Bayona and the great performance of the cast in this movie. Juan Antonio Bayona also directed another great movie that takes place after a disaster, and that movie is The Impossible, which takes place after the events of the Indonesian tsunami. And that movie has Spider-Man himself, Tom Holland, at a very young age. It also has Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ewan McGregor, and Naomi Watts. That's another great movie you guys need to see if you haven't watched that. But I'm not talking about that movie right now. I'm talking about Society of the Snow. Go watch this movie because it's phenomenal. And it's all thanks, like I said, to the direction of Juan Antonio Bayona. I mean, the cinematography in this movie is amazing. I just want to say that and get that out the way, because whether it's filming in a confined space in the plane, making our audience feel cold and claustrophobic like our survivors, or it's the grand sweeping shots of the Andes Mountains. I mean, the sense of scale in some of these shots that involve the mountains and our survivors, it just makes you feel completely small and useless as a human being, as some of the survivors and characters in this movie must have felt being stranded in the middle of nowhere in a forbidden place where life should not exist, which is what our survivors have to endure in Society of the Snow. I mean, this movie is immersive. You really feel the struggle and the depths of the suffering that these survivors had to go through, which unfortunately results into cannibalism, which is why, the story of the Uruguayan survivors is so popular, because everyone knows they had to eat other human beings to survive. But those scenes regarding cannibalism are done tastefully. I definitely worded that in the wrong way. But the subject of cannibalism, I mean, I love the discussion and the moral situation that all these characters had to go through in, getting to that point. But, there's a point where it's like you're begging some of these characters to eat the human meat because you want them to survive. That's how desperate the situation was.
Cuando no tenés ropa, te estás congelando. Cuando no tenés comida y te estás muriendo.
Si no comemos nos vamos a morir.
¿Comer qué?
You really feel like you're suffering with these survivors, watching them have to go through the harsh conditions of the weather, the cold, and just the elements of their surrounding, whether it be avalanches, the lack of food. I mean, you really feel for each survivor in this movie. Even though you don't get too much insight into a lot of these characters, because there's so many of them, you do get the feel for a few of them, and it's mostly through the eyes of our main character, Numa Turcati, who the main actor playing Numa Turcati does a phenomenal job, as does the rest of the cast. And I'm going to remember some of these names for a long time. Without getting into too much spoilers, I'm going to remember the names of Roberto Canessa and Fernando Parrado, just because of the things that they do in this movie are so damn legendary. And I'll just say that without getting into too much spoilers, but these characters are giants, in my opinion, for what they had to endure and go through. And the way these characters kept each other going. I mean, what made this movie for me is the camaraderie between all these survivors. They really relied on each other in life and in death to survive this situation. I mean, these characters are taking hits after hits and they're still moving on and surviving. So you just gotta respect it. And I did also love just the smaller moments, the quieter moments where characters are just discussing this, the dilemma that they're in. They're discussing their faith. They're discussing the meaning behind all this. Why is this happening? I mean, one of my favorite scenes is with Numa and another survivor named Javier, who lost his wife in this whole tragedy. And the conversation they have, because of trying to find the meaning and all this madness. Oh, it's such a short scene, but man, it hit me. It hit me good, and it's such a well written dialogue.
¿Ahora se van a dejar morir? ¿Después de todo lo que pasó?
Vos tenés las mejores piernas del equipo. Tenés que caminar por los demás.
And I thought the musical score by Michael Giacchino was amazing in this movie. It can get dark and depressing at times, but there's always an inspirational tone with the way the music flows and the payoff at the end with his music. Oh man, it almost brought tears to my eyes because the music he composed for this movie was so good. And he's done musical scores for The Batman, Star Wars, Lost. I mean, he has a good track record, and this is one of my favorite pieces of music he's ever done for a movie. I mean, the acting was phenomenal in this movie, the music was phenomenal in this movie, the direction and cinematography was phenomenal in this movie. I even think that J.A. Bayona even filmed a large portion of this movie in the Andes, in the real crash site of the 1972 Uruguayan plane. So that must have been a surreal experience for our actors having to, really act in the place where all this happened. So that's just amazing to me.
¿Lo ves? Hay que intentarlo.
Now, my last movie review of 2023 was Godzilla Minus One, which I gave a 10 out of 10. I'm going to go ahead and start off 2024 off the right way with another great score. I'm going to go ahead and give Society of the Snow a 10 out of 10. It gets my certified O face.
Oh. You know what I'm talking about. Oh.
Alright everyone, that's my review of Society of the Snow. Post down in the comment section below of what you thought of the movie. What would you rate it? Let me know. And if you like this video, be sure to smash that like button. Subscribe to this channel again if you want to see me again. And I'll see you next time. See ya.